Alright, what's going on, y'all? Cool. So, I'm over here on my break at work and stuff, and I'm just finding out right now that I guess this coming weekend there's gonna be a solar eclipse happening, and it's gonna be like the first one in a few years. And it just kind of makes me think about the last time that this type of things happened before, and it really just reminds me of God's faithfulness out here. It really just reminds me of the fact that God is a God of seasons, The last time that there was a solar eclipse, I was laid up in a hospital. I wasn't able to get up and see it. I wasn't able to get out of my hospital bed. I wasn't able to wheel myself over to see the eclipse. I remember sitting there in my hospital bed and like seeing the room go dark, and I was like, oh, it must be happening for like 10 minutes. And I didn't know. God has got his seasons, If it's not good yet, God is not done yet. Like my pastor's been saying, especially a lot recently, if you still got breath, you still got purpose out here. So I just really want to encourage somebody out here with it. God is a God of seasons. It might be a time of reaping for some of y'all, and it might be a time of sowing. But if it's not good yet, God's not done yet. I'm here to tell you guys that God is so much greater than what you're going through. God is so much bigger than what you're facing. God is so much bigger than your problems, than your addictions, than your struggles, than your depression, than your anxiety. So all these different things. We serve a great God. We serve a big God out here. I was just reading through it. That God spoke the stars into existence. That God spoke the world into existence. He's a God of the universe. And yet sometimes what we do in our life, what we do on the daily is we sit here and we take our problems and we focus so much on our problems that they just become so big in front of us that we forget the great God that we serve. We forget the great God who's working things out in the background. The great God who never stops working. The God that is so big. The God that is so powerful. The God who is so righteous, and yet he's so personal. The fact that he knocks on the doorway to our heart. The fact that he sits there and then he's so gentle. The fact that he's so loving, he's so caring, he's so gracious out here. I mean, come on, somebody. The fact that God works in seasons out here. That sometimes, we got our mountaintops and our valley lows. And I was just talking to somebody about this recently, and just thanking God for the mountains out here. Just talking about, I will praise you for the mountains. And I will praise you when the mountain's in my way, I really love what scripture says about mountains, When it says you got faith the size of a mustard seed, you can look at a mountain and say to a mountain, you must move because of the authority that we're under out here. And I truly believe this for you guys out here. I truly believe that we're called for so much greater than what we're seeing. We're called to walk in the supernatural on the daily. We're called to make the supernatural a lifestyle. We're called to do these different things, We're called to lay hands on the sick and watch them begin to rise. We're called to sit here and do all these different things. And it's supernatural love. I was just talking to somebody just this morning about it. About when Peter sits there and he walks on the water. And Jesus says to him, he says, come. One word. One word to make the impossible possible. But yet, when Jesus says to his disciples right before he leaves, he says, this is how you will know me. It's not by the way that they could walk on water. It wasn't by the way that they could heal the sick. It wasn't by any of these things. He could have literally said to them, they're going to know you're my disciples by the way that you get up and you fly around. Something crazy like that. But instead, what he says to them is he says, they're going to know that you're mine by the way that you love one another. They're going to know that you're mine by the way that you love your neighbor. By the way that you love one another. I mean, come on. It's a supernatural kind of love. And I feel like that's something that we're struggling so much with, especially right now. Especially with everything that's happening in the nation. Everything that's happening in the world. Everything that's happening out here, Jesus was laying hands on the sick. And I just can't help but think about the way that he loved his neighbors. The way that he looked at people. And that he had compassion for them. I can't help but think that sometimes when we're in our lows, when we're in our valley lows, that God looks at us and he sees us struggling. And he feels his compassion over us. He feels this compassion, this inexplainable love. That it might not be good yet, but that's just showing that God's not done yet. I remember the last time, I was stuck in a hospital and I was in reaping season and sowing, I can look back on it and I thank God I thank God for those times when I was struggling. I thank God for those times when I was sore. I thank God for that time in the wheelchair. I thank God for the times when they said that I could never. I wanted to let you guys know today